Hello, welcome to my video blog. This week we're covering week 4 in nursing informatics, and we covered evidence-based practice and evidence-informed practice and filter bubbles. Now I have to admit I'm at a bit of a disadvantage this week. I wasn't able to attend class. My kids decided to bring me home a little something from their play group, and I've been under the weather for a little while. But I have done the readings, and I have done a little bit of poking around online, looking at different things. And I definitely checked out that TED Talk on filter bubbles. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I've also discussed with my classmates as to what we went over in class and what they took away from it. So I'm going to do my best to explain what I came away with from this learning activity. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the Google filter bubbles. This is a totally new concept to me. I had no idea that search engines were targeting the results to me without my knowledge or permission. And the more I read about this, I watched that gentleman, Eli, I can't remember his last name, the gentleman on the TED Talk that brought this to my attention. And I'm really inclined to pick up his book because I'd really like to hear more about this. Here I thought the internet was the great source of connectivity where you could find information about anything, everywhere, all over the place. And turns out it's not. It's being targeted to me. It's what's inside my sphere of consciousness, where my interests lie. And from one standpoint, I mean, you could see, some potential benefits. They're filtering out some of the stuff that would likely be dismissed by me because it's not related to what I normally choose to look at. But at the same time, it's also excluding it's excluding those options completely without me even knowing they existed in the first place. So I don't have the opportunity to choose whether or not I like them or not. That's dangerous right there. That is sort of violates the principles of a free internet society. The freedom of information, the freedom of communication. Targeted information isn't free. It's targeted. It's aimed at me. And I can't help but feel that at the root of all of this is once again the almighty dollar. Okay? Google is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and you cannot become a multi-billion-dollar corporation through benevolence. Okay, nobody gets rich helping people. Nobody makes money out of the goodness of their hearts. Okay, any consumer has to realize that every provider of any service, their end goal is profit. And I can't help but feel that targeted searches are somehow connected to advertising. That learning about what I like and what I click on and my demographics is somehow related to selling me something. Now, yes, it does change the information that I look for, and it wasn't explicitly going buy this, buy that, but I can't help but feel that those two things are connected. And that maybe that those targets that it's brought to me, maybe they are affiliated with something who's trying to sell me something. Okay? At the root of almost everything, you will find money. It is the ultimate motivator. And there seems like there's been some steps taken lately to sort of get away from this whole filter bubble idea. I read an article online in Wired that Google is taking steps to broaden the search results just in response to this. Because the internet generation, they, and I guess I guess I would count myself as a part of that, feel that, at least many of us feel, that information should be free. And I don't mean free as in no cost, I mean free to access. And that any sort of restriction like targeting searches is a form of censorship. And censorship is a very dangerous thing. Which sort of leads me to my next point. Nursing is connected to this by the use of evidence-informed practice. Okay, now I did some checking. I had a really hard time distinguishing between evidence-based and evidence-informed. Evidence-based seemed to be a much stricter set of rules, whereas evidence-informed sort of encompassed the human factor, the experience factor. Now, I know the terms are used interchangeably quite a bit, but I do feel that there is a difference between them, and I hope I'm getting that right. In that sense, targeting searches doesn't give you all the information you need. And I refuse to buy into the idea that the only credible information is academic source. Okay, and I know that as a professor, that's probably hard to hear because academic sources are vetted and peer-reviewed and on and on and on. But I choose not to believe that the only people capable of creating knowledge are those with several letters after their names. I think good knowledge can come from any source, and it is up to the user to decide how good it is. So, by targeting searches, it really limits a nurse's ability to have true evidence-informed practice because you're not looking at all the evidence. You're looking at what evidence they think you need. And who is some mathematical algorithm to tell me what I think I need? They're not. Especially in nursing, because nursing is a human services profession. It's where we deal with people, and people are all different. There are no two people that are exactly the same, and there are no two circumstances that are exactly the same. So how could any sort of pattern develop where a mathematical algorithm could determine what is the most applicable information in an ever-changing environment? It couldn't. So I think by restricting the content that anyone, and especially a nurse, can see online could really have a serious impact on the quality of care they deliver. The choices they make would be impacted by that. Information needs to be free and fluid. And it doesn't matter the source. That is something that I've had problems with in the academic world before, where when I write my essays, I use however many critical sources as my references, as what is needed, and usually above and beyond that. And I'm not saying that periodicals are not good sources of information. They are excellent sources of information. What I'm saying is they are not the only source of information, the only source of quality information. I feel that it is up to the user to determine what is the BS and what is the good stuff, and what is applicable to them and what they can throw away. And that is always changing as well. I think that a good nurse is the kind of person that can see through the mud, okay? That can read between the lines and determine what's essential, what's needed right at this moment, what might come in handy later, and what can I throw away right now. And I think that's important, not just in being literate in reading things online and periodics and finding information. I think that's equally, if not more important, in being literate in human behavior. Being literate in determining what this particular person needs at this particular time. Okay, and it's fluid and dynamic and constantly changing, and it's a skill that takes time to develop. And I find that some people have it and some people are stockbrokers. So it's evidence-based nursing. I understand the validity of and the importance of testing things and randomized trials and getting quantitative data. This worked X number of times, this didn't work Y number of times. That is all very important stuff. But the business we're in is much deeper than that. The business we're in is much more philosophical. Okay? Learning how to react in the moment in an ever-changing environment is not something that anyone is ever perfect at. You get better or worse, and relative to other people, there's different rankings on the scale, but it's just like golf. No one's ever going to have a perfect game. It's something that you need to continually practice. So how does this all tie together? Well, first of all, the internet should be free. Free of censorship, free of targeted searches, free of million-dollar, billion-dollar companies seeking a better way to understand me and how they can separate me from my money. If that means I should use a different search engine other than Google, well, maybe that's something that I'm going to look into, because that never occurred to me. Nurses need access to all information to make the best decisions. And that decision making is what separates a good nurse from an inadequate one. Thank you.